It was a day like any other, when I got a special message from Emilio. Hola, amigo, ¿cómo estás bien? I feel the need for another floor on my house. I'm sure you can help me with that. Come to the south as soon as you get this letter. Bring them boys. Emilio. Well, I did lose no time. I packed some tools, picked up Samuel Eto'o and immediately left for southern France. Once again, we were in southern France, in this God-blessed beautiful piece of land. Honestly, the south of France always feels like a vacation. As goes this old saying, every moment in your life wants to be a vacation, and every vacation wants to be in southern France. The project was simple, really a quickie. Go from this to that. Straightforward masonry, no interior work, no plumbing, no electricity, just some good old cellular concrete masonry walls, a bit of roofing and the exterior facade coating on the new build. Just shy of 3 weeks of work for the three of us. Emilio! Emilio! Mnogaleta, mnogaleta, mnogaleta. Emilio! Emilio!
Il pleut. Witajcie u nas.
Hola
Emilio. Bah, on est presque prêt.
First, we had to completely empty the bottom room, inspect thoroughly the existing walls to discover what they are made of. Then we got rid of all remaining elements that were in the way of our demolition. Yet one problem remained, the rain. Before we could open the roof completely, our guide Emilio had to perform the very ancient dance of the sun. And it worked. With the ancient roofing now gone, we were able to proceed to the demolition of the gable, to even out the foundation of our future first floor wall, to make sure that our good fortune would last the longest possible, and secure many, many hours of sunshine. Yet another ritual had to be performed. Emilio! Yeah! Once we had torn down the gable all the way down to the reinforced concrete lintel, we gave it a good clean all the way around. When all the dust had settled, we laid down some measures on the concrete lintel to even out the spacing of the wooden beams. After having carefully determined the spots for the beams of the new floor, we drilled and hollowed holes onto the opposite massive stone wall and started to put the beams in their final position. Those old wooden beams that we kept from the old roof were in excellent shape and great condition. Their dimension 10 by 20 centimeters was more than enough to hold our future floor. We carefully positioned the beams in their final position and fixed them with mortar. We particularly checked them to be leveled perfectly. On both of the side walls we made a leveled form and filled it with mortar, to have a nice two area for the construction of the first floor walls. But those two beams had to be reinforced with some cross beams because we weren't able to dig too deep the granite lintel on the top of the door. We then embedded the wooden beams with cellular concrete blocks and obtained a true and leveled area, the foundation of the future walls. Feeling that the sun then charm was slowly dissipating, we worked late that evening to cover the floor temporarily with wooden slabs, in case the rain would suddenly erupt that night.
Je te rappelle. Non, je peux pas. Bah, je te rappelle.
Little did we know the drama that was waiting for us the next day.
Dneska pohoda, sobotka, idem uštrikovať sveter Emilovi.
Páni a dámy, exkluzívne dneska si natočíme neistotu prvého kroku.
Jakú neistotu? Polož kameru a dávaj, ideme robiť, nevymýšľaj, nešpekuluj. Začína nám pršať, musíme šnúrku natahovať, rohy zakladať.
Klinče kladivko máš? We began this grey Saturday with building the utmost important first row of the future wall. First, we drilled the holes for the steel cage rebar vertical beams for both of the corners. Then we carefully and meticulously built both corners. Every block had to be leveled in all three axes. Being the very foundation of the entire wall, there was no room for error. Any deviation from the perfect level would need to be compensated in the next layer, which would add tons of work later on. When starting a new wall, the best practice on the first layer of blocks is to double check not only the corners, but also that every single block is perfectly leveled in all directions, so the following layers can be raised without any unnecessary complications. But then we ran out of luck. The fast approaching summer storm forced us to build an emergency roof to prevent a disaster. But that quick roof was a poor match to those torrents, and we spent the whole storm keeping it standing. Otherwise, it would have crumbled under the deluge and flooded the house.
A tak.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world.
Monday greeted us with the clearest sky ever. First of all, now we had the first layer of the walls in position. We secured the wooden slabs with screws and basically made the floor. Then we piled the maximum of cellular concrete blocks ready to be built in place and raised all the walls.
What a wonderful world.
Alors cette journée, Manu,
Tranquille.
The last row of the wall was conveniently built out of U-profiles such as this one. Inside, Emilio welded the steel cages rebar together so it would form an all-around rebar belt, welded onto the corners and fixed into existing walls. Remember kids, always respect the security procedures. Like here in this example, make sure you wear appropriate OSHA-approved building shoes. The tight restraints of the U-shaped profiles made the welding a little tricky and frustrating for the welder, but he did a great job anyways. Cellular concrete blocks being a relatively lightweight building material, this reinforced rebar technique will assure its strength over time and increase its ability to withstand bad weather for a great number of years without cracking and moving. So we casted the cage rebar belt into concrete, which formed a reinforced concrete belt all around our new built walls.
Emilio! Come on.
Dneska je sobota, včera bol piatok a úraz sa mi stal. Stal sa mi úraz, nejak tak som kráčal, tu som zakopol o neviem čo to je.
O plotik podkýnač?
O plotik, tu sa máš opred. No a potom bum bum a mal som vypité samozrejme. Pár metra po tu je. Tam sú skaly dole. Najebané vodka, pivo, Slovak Machine.
A si padol.
Tam sa aj skaly voláte, neviem čo.
Tam je taký oný briežek.
A pre? Bum bum. A tam ma Emilio vytahoval. Amadu tu Hanuman.
O, si Hanuman.
Rama, je tam Hanuman. Teplo tu je. Jaj.
Hey, let's not forget this important beam. To support our roof we needed a long beam. So we cut those half slabs in two of them and we obtained this embedded long one. Then we drilled some holes in the wall, washed the dust away with water and fixed it with chemically anchored threaded rods. So we could finally start to work on the roof. But we had to wage a long-standing combat against our biggest enemy, the Southern Francis heat.
Teplo mi je všade. Všade mi je teplo, ešte sa len zabudilo. Ideš do piče tú kameru, svina.
Emilo.
Emilo,
Prends la vague. Il prend la vague.
Veľa mi jebe z rána. Ďalší pondelek.
To make our lives easier, we covered the wooden structure with corrugated fiber cement roofing sheets, an ideal structure to support the top-tier layer of traditional Southern French tiles, which are also called tuile canal, or weirdly monk and nun tiles. What?
Emilo.
Hola, hombre.
C'est chaud.
C'est chaud, Emilio.
We finished our third week by plastering the newly built walls with fiber grid sealed into a layer of adhesive mortar. Once cured, we covered the adhesive mortar with handmade mortar coating precisely ochre colored to match perfectly the pre-existing building and the color palette of the whole village. Because of course we did. Because that's how you preserve traditions and therefore maintain culture. It was a day like any other. We just finished our mission in the south and were ready to head home. The new floor was built, coated, and everything was packed up. We were up to finishing our last coffee and take the road. All the remaining work was left on Emilo's shoulders. And honestly, he did an amazing job finishing the interior and exterior. But I'll let you decide. Write Emilo down in the comments if you agree and tell him how much beast of a builder he is. But why didn't you demolish the whole house and rebuild it from ground up? I hear you asking. Well, the response is shockingly simple. It's only when you take care of your land and legacy that you can have nice things. And it's because of devoted people that cherish their culture that amazing views like this exist till today. And as always, keep it real.